Yeah, it's your boy Cosmic here, and today I decided to do a basic Legend guide. Now, I described Legend as being a kind of high-risk, high-reward rushdown character with some elements of punish-focused defensive gameplay. I think the thing you really need to wrap your head around with this character is just how different he is from most other rushdown characters. What he basically does is trade all the usual rushdown weaknesses that exist in this game for completely different ones that don't usually exist for these characters. For example, most rushdown characters like Leo or Super Zac aren't great in neutral, and it isn't until they're in advantage that they truly shine. Legend isn't like this. His neutral isn't on the same level as characters like Blaze or Scapcon who can do effective mix-ups without even needing to get near you, but it's still possibly the best out of any rushdown character in this game. However, despite this, he has basically no tools to deal with projectiles. Leo has line upper, Super Zac has aerial dash kick, Hanzor has his jump range, Legend has nothing. As a result, almost all of his matchups against projectile characters are either disadvantaged or completely unwinnable. He also has an extremely low stun value, meaning that if you get in on him, you've almost already won. Fortunately, because of things I'll go over later, the same also applies for the opponent when they're fighting him. Onto his basic game plan, he basically has two options in neutral. His first is to play defensively using Energy Torn to punish opponents who get too close, and his second is to use Knee Attack to try and close in on the opponent early. Both options work, and I don't see either one as being better than the other, but in some matchups it will be extremely obvious which one you should be using and which one you shouldn't. Both of these are fairly straightforward, but I feel the need to go over exactly why Legend's defensive game is so good. As you can see here, just by holding down and back at the same time, Legend gains a lot of hypothetical control over the stage, being able to rival even characters like Ashura or Jibber. Okay, maybe not that last one, but you get the idea. Personally, my favorite approach with Legend is to use Knee Attack at full screen to get a little closer to the opponent. If they try to get away, continue approaching, and if they try to get in, punish with Energy Torn. And if at any time you hit the opponent with either of these attacks, you'll knock them down, and that's when it gets really interesting. Allow me to just start by stating the obvious. Legend's okizeme is some of the best in the game. He has various tools for Oki, Energy Torn and Knee Attack, but the first one I want to go over is Energy Torn. If you time it right, the opponent only has two options when they get up. They can either try to block or go for a frame perfect reversal. If they try and block, Energy Torn can get massive chip damage by the fact that it hits multiple times on block, and frame perfect reversals aren't something every character has access to, and even when they are, they're so difficult to do right, I wouldn't consider them a viable option. Unless, of course, you're at a level of JMF gameplay that, to my knowledge, doesn't exist right now. Based on all this, you might be wondering why anyone would ever use Knee Attack on Oki, but something you might not know is that when it's timed correctly, it can lead to a cross-up, and due to how cross-ups work in this game, it may or may not result in Legend having an infinite off this move. And when I say it may or may not, I mean that literally. I really don't know if it does or not. So basically, Energy Torn is the safer option on Oki, but Knee Attack has the potential to be much more rewarding. Now, so far you might have noticed that I've only mentioned two of Legend's special moves, despite every character in the game having three, unless you don't count Hanzor's air throw for some reason. In which case, go away. The reason for this is that, put simply, heal press is bad. There's only one situation where it's ever useful, and that situation doesn't even come up all that often. In order for heal press to be useful, your opponent's health bar has to be really low, you need to be at mid-screen range, and you need to be in either neutral or disadvantage. Given that it's rare for the opponent's health bar to be low enough that you could kill them with heal press's chip damage even if the other two requirements aren't fulfilled, it should be obvious why this move isn't good. Who knows, maybe it has some hidden use I'm not aware of, but to my knowledge it's just bad. Now before I end the guide, I just want to quickly go over Legends and Normals. The reason I haven't mentioned them yet isn't because they're bad, far from it. A couple of them are actually quite good, but they don't really fit into any of the previous sections. The first one I want to go over is his GP, and it's, fine, I guess? It's got decent range and attack power, there's nothing wrong with it, I've just never felt the need to use it. Same goes for Kick, it could be used as an anti-air, but at that point you'd be better off using Energy Torn instead. Sweep, however, is much more interesting, but not for the right reasons. It gets knockdown, which is nice, and it's decently fast, but that's not what I wanted to talk about. Sweep's main weakness is the fact that it's negative on block. I don't know the exact frame data, but if the opponent blocks it, you're getting punished no matter what. And this is really bad when it's so easy to accidentally use it because you've got the directional input on Knee Attack wrong, so you use Sweep instead. You can see in a lot of the Astral Arena tournament footage, and even probably the gameplay I'll end up using for this video, that I end up using it for no reason and getting punished. This is why. It's such a weird move. It's simultaneously Legend's best and worst normal, and I'm really not sure how to feel about it. But yeah, that's it for the Legend guide. I know I didn't go over matchups unlike in the Star video, but that's mainly because I don't really know all that much about Legend's matchups. I'm bad at ending videos, so yeah, bye.